Okay. So thank you all for coming today to learn more about how to schedule meetings with legislators. I'm going to talk a little bit about our advocacy processes and then specific processes to schedule these meetings, why we would schedule them, when you need to schedule them, and some tools to help you through that entire process. So hopefully you'll end this and be ready to schedule meetings for some of our upcoming events. So, like I said, I'm going to first talk about the differences between advocacy and lobbying, just really briefly. I'm going to talk about when, why, and how to schedule meetings, finding the right contact and crafting your message, best practices and templates for emails and letters for meeting requests, and then what to bring, who to bring, and some specific follow-up tips after those meetings with legislators, which I'll talk about more in a training next week as well. Um, but yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. So first, I just wanted to remind everyone, I know I've talked about this in the past, that advocacy and lobbying are not the same thing. One is kind of similar to the other, but advocacy is something that we all can and should be doing. Whether you're a public agency or a private nonprofit, advocacy is something that we do to educate legislators about the work that we do within their district and for their constituents. Of course, lobbying is something a little bit different. That's when you're specifically making, budget funding policy asks to those legislators. So even public agencies, like I said, who have a lot more restrictions than privates, who cannot engage in lobbying, they can engage in informational activity and advocacy work. So just wanted to hit that right off the top. Next, why we schedule meetings with legislators. So the big one, like I said, is education. We want to educate the decision makers about your organization, about our network as a whole, and about the funding that makes our network possible. Things you might want to do are share your local impact data, some outcomes and success stories, and explaining your connection to the statewide and nationwide network. You're all community action agencies. You are one of 60 CSVG eligible entities in California and one of thousands in the United States. So, trying to remember that local, state, national, and how it all ties into place. Relationship building. You want to be the go-to resource for legislators and their constituents. If a constituent calls up your legislator and says, I'm having trouble with utilities, they should know that you are a resource in the community to set them up with. Explain how you support their constituents, offer to assist their constituents that call, and explaining how your agency responds to emerging issues for low-income families. So I know, maybe if you're down in LA talking about, how you responded to LA fires, back in November, talking about how you responded to the federal shutdown and cuts to SNAP and things like that. And then, of course, specific asks. So a lot of times we'll have a specific ask going into meetings. Some of these can teeter onto the lobbying side, so you do need to be a little bit more careful in this regard. But when it comes to education and relationship building, those are two things that you really shouldn't have an issue doing, regardless if you're a public, private, or anything in between. So next, when to schedule meetings with legislators. First, I'm going to start at the end. Whenever you want to talk to a legislator, you can schedule a meeting with them. You can travel to DC whenever you want if you want to go do that, or travel to Sacramento whenever. As well as there's district offices that each legislator has. So maybe you just want to go pop over to their district office for a meeting, or maybe you want to host the legislator and their staff at your agency for a specific visit or event. Apart from the whenever, we also have some dedicated events that agencies can schedule their meetings around. The first being NCAF Fly-In Week. That's really geared toward federal legislators, so the US Congress, the House, and the Senate. Um, that is March 17th through 20th, and you want to schedule those meetings a month in advance, which is right about now. You want to be sending these meeting requests to your congressional representatives. CalCAPA will be scheduling the senator meetings, so if that's something you want to do on your own, you are more than welcome to. That is something that we will be helping out with when it comes to your local legislators. you want to start thinking about scheduling those meetings right now. Cal Kappa's Advocacy Day, that's more geared to state legislators, so the Assembly and this California State Senate. Um, Cal Kappa's Advocacy Day is May 13th and 14th, and again, you want to schedule those at least a month in advance, so thinking the beginning of April to schedule those. Another plug for Advocacy Day, if you have any state legislators who you have a really great relationship with and you think they would be a good speaker for programming on Advocacy Day, let us know. Apart from scheduling those meetings, we'd love for them to come and speak to the entire network about the importance of community action in their district. So those are two upcoming opportunities for you to schedule meetings specifically. And then, like I said, just know that advocacy is ongoing and you can always talk to your legislator and tell them about the amazing work that you do in their district. So next, I kind of want to talk about the Cal Kappa Connect app. This is our tool for finding legislative contacts, and I'll go ahead and show you all what that looks like. So this is the welcome page. Some of the stuff on the bottom you guys won't see yet. But these are the tools right here that we're really looking to use when it comes to advocacy. You'll want to go first if you're trying to find a meeting or if you're wanting to schedule a meeting and find a contact, you'll want to go to the California District Directory. So let's say I'm trying to schedule a meeting with Ami Bera. I would go to Ami Bera's little thing, I'd click details, I'd come here, I'd see that no one's had an advocacy meeting with him recently, so there's nothing that I need to worry about other people having conversations already. And then I can see their staff right here. So I have a good amount of people for Congressman Vera's office. We have ledge assistants, chief of staffs, district chief of staffs, legislative directors, and the scheduler. A lot of times the scheduler is going to be your first line of communication with the office. So look out for that title whenever you look at their staff contacts, as well as there's some other resources. You can see what committees they're on, and then you can also see what other agencies touch their district. So say I'm SETA and I'm wanting to set this meeting, maybe I see if anyone over at CRP or Human Development would want to join me for that meeting as well. So that's a really great way to use the app. If you don't know who your legislators are, maybe you're starting from ground zero, you can start from agency. And you'll go, let's say I'm California Human Development. You'll go here, click details, and you can see all of the electoral districts they're in. So Human Development touches a lot. So they have all of these congressmen, a lot of congressmen, and then they have some of the state legislators you'll see at the bottom of their list as well. Most lists will be a lot shorter than Human Development, so this is probably a bad example, but yes. Anthony, do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Hi, just wondering, is this only for Cal Kappa or community action agencies? If, we've got clients in the office, saying they want to, I don't know, make a report or, these are the kinds of information that maybe they would be interested in. Can we share it with them?
Yeah, so the information I would say that you can share with anyone. To get into the app, you do need to have a login for the app. And we do have a total number of seats that we have to cap that at. But you are always welcome to pull any information off of the app and make it publicly facing or share it via email with any partners. But we do reserve the app just for CAAs and our energy partners as well.
Thank you.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. And if you guys need help setting up an account, it's really easy. So we can walk through that as well. But you really just put your email in and then you get sent an email about it. Right, Lawrence? Is that how it goes? So, yeah.
Yeah, there's a request link right on the app under, well, in any case, you'll see it. It's all over the place in the app.
Yeah. And if there's any questions, just let Lawrence or I know. But we're hoping this will be a good tool. I'm trying to update it as much as possible to make sure these contacts are up to date. I recently just went through all of the federal side and everything's up to date on that side. Still working on the state side. There's a lot of people to make sure I'm updating on that side, but everyone on the federal side should be the most up-to-date contact at this time. So that's a little bit about how the app works. There's a lot of great tools in the app. There's also a reporting tool for after you've done the meetings. If you're going to report your meeting, let's say I want to report a meeting, I just go right here and I would report that meeting. And that way we know, and other agencies know, hey, I met with this person. This is what we talked about. Right now, these meeting notes are public facing, so make sure you keep that in mind. Any notes that you're putting there will be available to the network to also see. So if there's a more specific meeting note that you want to send just CalCappa, feel free to email us and send us any more specifics that you might not want to be so publicly facing. So if there are any questions on this, otherwise I'll go back to my presentation.
Jillian, I'll make one more note just to help along with navigating this app. There's a My Agency link that will appear when you're logged in, and that's another shortcut to the tools that Jillian was just describing. So it may be helpful to click on that. I think that's an update for you, Jillian. So, sorry, feature release. There you
Thank
go.
you. Yeah. Yeah,
But there
and
you go.
things
Same
are being,
information. Yeah.
yeah, we're making updates to this app all the time, trying to provide as many tools to you all as we can. Right now, Lawrence is working on the side for training and technical assistance as well. So we're really hoping this will be, yeah, go ahead, Seth.
Hey, good afternoon, guys.
Hey.
Brizzy, we're a sub-recipient, right, of CIFD here, which is the agency, but there's 19 of us, family source centers. Um, are we eligible to get onto this app, or do we have to go through like Jackie and the CIFD folks?
Lawrence, do you want to hop in?
Oh, I mean, I know that we reserve this for the CSBG network, and you're kind of in there by extension, and we haven't been approached by that yet, Seth. So thank you very much for, for introducing that thought. Um, I'm inclined to share it, but I need to we need to talk internally real quick. But we'll turn around and answer to you like later today.
Okay, I'm gonna have a bunch of other follow-up questions, but that was kind of the main one. I just know we have like a bunch of the executive directors of the 19 FSCs. They go up to Sacramento every year. I'm
Mhm.
not sure how they coordinate the meetings or the schedule the meetings and all that.
Yeah, we'll just circle back to you real quick, Seth.
All right,
Hey,
cool.
David, you're here. All right, great. It may even be faster than this afternoon.
Hey Seth, how you going?
Hey, what's going on, David? How you doing, man?
Good. I think I missed part of the question. What was the question again?
The question was, so we are not like I guess for us, we're one of the sub-recipients of the funds through CIFD. Right? So it's like Jackie and those guys would be the ones with access to the app. And as the sub-recipients of the 19 FSCs, would we have access to this app and the availability to schedule out appointments?
Yeah, I think so. I think at one point we've have formed it around, member organizations and where they're at, but with LA being that, I don't think we have necessarily an issue for that. Our concern is we try not to open it up to folks outside of folks that receive CSPG because the only issue is then folks, start to really access a lot of our, I would say internal. I mean, it's not anything that is, you know, uh, privileged in a sense, but we want people to feel comfortable being able to share information about conversations that they had. And that's kind of open. So I think that there are certain parameters that we can put in place just to protect us because at that point it is somewhat of outside organizations. But I feel like the work you guys do and not that we wouldn't do it across the state, but a lot of our urban markets, but it's specifically the LA one that you guys do. You're doing such a big part of the heavy lifting of the actual direct work that it makes sense. So I don't see an issue with it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then I have another question, but I'll wait for my other question until you keep going because you may answer it.
Sounds good. So yeah, well, I'll go back to the presentation. I feel like I've been in the app for a while, but if you guys have any more questions about the app, always happy to sit down and, navigate through it with you all. So I'll go back over here. So the next part of it is finding the right person to contact. So, sort of how the offices work. Of course, at the top, there's the elected official. Oftentimes, the elected official may not be available to take your meeting, so they might assign it to another one of their staff. It might feel, sad if you really wanted to talk to that elected official, but we always encourage you to still take that meeting, regardless of who they sort of pawn it off to. Any way to talk to the office and become a known entity in their office is a good thing, even if you don't get to start at the top right away. So another person to talk to beyond the elected official is the chief of staff. This is who you want to contact when you are asking about high-level asks, high-level member education, things like that. A lot of the times we won't directly go through the chief of staff. They have a lot of things on their plate and are really busy, but sometimes people have good relationships with chiefs of staff as well. So that's always a person. Like I said, the scheduler is the main person that you'll go through when you are scheduling those meetings. Um, you'll always probably want to include their email, regardless on if you're meeting with the elected official or just trying to meet with another staff member. Um, the other two are legislative director and district director. So legislative director would be if you wanted to discuss a specific policy area. A lot of times they have specific legislative analysts, policy directors under the legislative director as well that hone in more specifically on specific service areas. And then the district director is best for those district office meetings or your agency site visits. So they're the person that you want to contact when you want to meet in district, not when you want to meet in DC. So best practices for your message, like I said, finding the best person to send the request to. Maybe that's more than one person. Like I said, maybe that's the scheduler and the legislative director. Maybe that's the scheduler, the chief of staff, and the district director. But just trying to figure out who that best person is. If you need help figuring that out, let me know. Having a clear subject line and a clear meeting purpose in the narrative of your meeting request. Also, an important thing is just to quickly flex and remind them about the work that your agency does, whether that's in the message itself, but also maybe attaching a one-pager or informational materials, being clear on timing and trying to offer flexibility, and also noting who's coming from your organization. That last bullet point, sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't. It's always helpful for the scheduler, for the person setting up the meeting to know. But if it's something that you're kind of putting together last minute, a head count is always enough if you don't know the exact names of the people. So to help out with this, we have drafted some templates. The first one is for when you've never talked to your legislator before. This is the first time you're engaging with their office. What we would normally do is send an email with a brief introduction and with a more formal introduction letter attached, as well as any relevant one-pagers or other informational materials. So, for example, this is the example of the template email. Obviously, I did write this in the idea of community action agencies or entities. So if you're a subgrantee, it would be worded a little differently for sure, but still a lot of the same principles. But just touching on who you are, some of your some of the impact in your county, and just that you would like to be introduced to the legislator. So this is an email that we'd cut and paste into whatever email we use, Gmail for us, and we'd include that scheduler or the chief of staff or ledge director or whoever it is we're sending it to. For an introduction, I'd normally include the scheduler, the chief of staff, and the ledge director, just because it's an introduction. If you're wanting to have that first meeting be in district, maybe you also include that district director. As well as with the email, we usually attach a formal letter as well, just to have something more formal with a sign from either the board or executive director. So those are both in here. This will be sent to you all after, so you'll have access to these. Again, this is just template language, example language, but you are all free to use whatever language feels right to you. Obviously, there are some words to use, some words not to use that NCAF always recommends. So if you're concerned about your messaging at all, let us know and we can help you with that. But those are just sort of starting points. We have the same thing for NCAF Fly-In Week. So like I said, NCAF's a great time to meet with federal legislators on their turf. They always appreciate when we come to visit them. It shows that our network's committed to working with legislators for their constituents. So if needed, this is, like I said, this is in March. Hopefully you've all engaged with your legislative office before March, but if not, sending an introduction letter before then is really important, as well as an email template specifically for this week. It just has more language about Washington, D.C. and traveling, the fact that we're traveling from district. We're hoping to meet with the rep while we're in town. And of course, still offering any specific flexibility that you have during the week, but just really reiterating the fact that you're traveling from district and hoping to talk to them about the work that you do for their constituents. It's the same sort of thing for Cal Kappa's Advocacy Day, just more so on the state side. So has Sacramento and the specific dates for Advocacy Day. Well, we'll be in town and the same thing, just talking about how we're serving their constituents and talking to them about the specific needs we're seeing in our communities. Those are our current asks because we don't have official asks right now. Our asks are just, we want to talk about the work we do and the needs in our communities. And we want to talk about, in general, how state policy and funding impacts our communities. If we get to the meetings and we want to be more specific, we have, private 501c3s that can make those lobbying asks. We can do that, but we want to make sure that we're not going into any bad territories here. So those are all sort of how to plan and schedule those meetings. When you're thinking about who you might want to come, these are sorry, I cannot talk right now. These are some ideas. The first being an agency decision maker. This person speaks directly on the agency's processes and accountability measures for CSBG, and is sort of the decision maker in the room. Like I said, they're the meeting facilitator. Maybe on top of that, you have a program level manager who speaks directly on program processes, data, and outcomes, talks about the community impact and elevating family voices, and of course brings all the copies of informational materials. The board member or advocate, this person makes the asks for the group. Maybe they're the one with the relationship with the legislator. I know I went to a meeting with Ajit recently. Well, not recently, that was August now, but it feels recent. And we had a great sort of breakdown like this where we had the agency leaders in the room, we had board members in the room, we had program level managers in the room who could really speak to the needs assessments and the community action plans and things like that. And we also had board members who were clients in the room as well. So speaking directly on the impacts of community action programs to their life, and being able to answer those questions from the legislators about the impact of community action. It doesn't have to be this exact formula. These are just, a good way to break it down. Yeah. Next, what to bring to meetings. I will talk all about this a week from today in planning for your legislative meeting. We will be putting together a binder that looks like this, that has all the talking points. It'll lay out a schedule, and just things to help you prepare for Advocacy Day, for NCAF Flying Week, and really for any legislative meetings you have. So when you're going to your meetings, you have all the data you need. You have one-pagers on the people you're meeting with, and things like that. Other handouts that staffers might ask for, like I said, agency one-pagers and data sheets. Staffers love those, so always make sure you have those. Maybe some program-specific one-pagers, so maybe you're meeting with someone who has a lot of work on the energy side, so you want to bring program-specific one-pagers for LIHEAP or weatherization, or you have someone who's really interested in your Head Start or food bank work, so bringing one-pagers specific to those things, as well as potential copies of your annual report, needs assessments, community action plans. Those could be things that they ask for. Those also can be things that you follow up with. And then, of course, statewide data, if they want to know what the Community Action Network does beyond just your organization, we're more than happy to help provide some data and statistics there as well. Um, And then, like I said, following up with meetings. On the day of the meeting, you'll want to assign someone from your group to follow up. Make sure that person gets the business card of whoever you met with and tell that staffer that you'll be the person that follows up with them. That's really important that you make that follow up, even if it's just a thank you. If you don't have any information specifically to follow up, just making sure that that relationship has engagement. The day after the meeting, like I said, you'll follow directly up with that person, thank them, offer contact information for everyone who was at the meeting. And then, like I said, if there is any outlying information from the meeting, you can go ahead and provide it there. Maybe they asked for your needs assessment and you didn't bring it with you, so you want to include it there, things like that. And then a week after, follow up again and see if you can close the loop on any discussions, discuss opportunities for future collaboration. And of course, we always would love for the members to come visit our programs and our agencies. So that's always an ask that we have going into our legislative meetings is, hey, do you want to come see the work that we do in person? So that's always a really important one. And we'll talk more about this, like I said, next week, specifically in planning for your meeting. I just wanted to briefly touch upon them because it is something that you start to think about when you're scheduling the meetings. But yeah, other than that, I don't have much more information specifically to share. I can answer as many questions, try to answer as many questions as you all have. But yeah, thank you so much. Yes, Seth, go ahead.
Yeah, so I have a question relating to us in our particular situation. So, right, we're from LA. There are 19 of these nonprofits similar to, right, to Brazil that are family source centers in a city of 4 million people. I did an AI search of kind of the representatives for all 19 of us. I
Mhm.
think we've got, as for my count, we've got 11 different state assembly people, or no, sorry,
Yeah.
yeah, 11 different state assembly people, like 6 or 7 different state senators, and
Mhm.
5 different Congress people that represent the 19 of us. So
Yeah.
maybe this is an offline conversation or an advice piece, but like our strategy for when we did it locally and talked to all of our city council people, of which there's 15, is like we went to all of them. Like all of us went to our particular ones.
Mhm.
Don't know necessarily the, ability of all 19 of us to get up to Sacramento and meet with all those people individually. So I guess more from an advice perspective, are there specific like heads of committees or things that you would recommend that would be better to meet with um, than others? Or.
Yeah, I think it depends on what it is you're trying to get out of the meeting. If it's just relationship building, I'd recommend, like I said, even if it's just a small coalition, if it's not all 19 of you, if it's,
Mhm.
2 or 3 of you going to talk to them all. But apart from that, appropriations is always a big one. Health and human services, obviously, always a big one. I'm just trying to remember the state committees. They're a little different than the federal committees, but David, I don't know if you have any.
No, I mean, it's titled the same. I mean, when you look at appropriations, that's always key if it's so specific that we're on. And then on the state side currently, it's really just trying for people to understand where CSPG money comes in and how you're able to leverage that into doing what you do, all the other programs. And specifically think about if there's any programs that are out of state dollars that they understand how those programs work as a wraparound with the other things that you offer as well. From a seven grantee standpoint, you're not necessarily established by CSPG, right? The model wasn't built on CSPG, on the back of CSPG. You took that on in addition to, but any conversation about, again, those state dollars and what departments those come out of is very vital, is looking at, where is that appropriated from is, I think, extremely important.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was gonna ask too, do you guys are your family centers more specific geographically based, like pockets and neighborhoods of LA or okay.
Yeah. It's literally scattershot in the most vulnerable areas of LA. So Brazil is located in like Wilshire, Hollywood. You got El Centro de Ayuda in Boyle Heights. You got Toberman in San Pedro. You got El Nido in Pacoima. So we're literally like all over the entire city of Los Angeles, and strategically so, right? There's not 19 centers all in one area.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Do you guys you said you break it up like sort of regionally within LA based on the members as well, or?
Well, we're just all sub-recipients of the CIFD's Family Source contract. We all receive 1.5 million in a
Mhm.
contract from the CIFD, of which that, I mean, David, you know as much as I do, but I think it's like 30% of that are federal pass-through dollars, some of them which are CSBG and some of which are CDBG. And so we've had a lot of success locally, like, and some of the dollars are general unrestricted from the city. And so we've been doing our advocacy work with the city, and they haven't cut the contract. They've actually increased it over the last, 3 or 4 years. And sort of with what's happening nationally, we're just gonna, our red flags are going up with that we need to go and advocate more on the state level and really on the federal level, like with our Congress people too, just so they're fighting for us um, as well.
I have
Yeah, and I'll have another conversation with Jackie at some point to see bring a good point about what is the percentage of each one of those and how, for you to really have a robust program, it needs to be at that 1.5 amount and how
Mhm.
you're able to use all those different pots that are there that could increase it. Because, one of the things we constantly talk about is it's still never enough.
Yeah.
And we try to point out, these are the amount that we serve and these are the amount that we don't currently serve because it's not enough. We're at capacity. I know when I saw you guys, you're at capacity,
Yeah. And we use those dollars, like you said, we leverage private dollars, foundation dollars, corporate dollars to complete the mission because the government usually only, gives you X percentage of what the total cost of doing things. But yeah, and I think it also, I mean, there's just also just a benefit for us to go and meet and greet and have our elected officials know us personally. And a lot of us know who our local folks are, but we have never done the effort collectively, right? And it's a much bigger argument. I know from people that went to the state last year to be like, oh, hey, we're Brazil, we serve 6,000 people a year versus, hey, our system serves 75,000 people a year. So it's just, and we're also trying to frame that argument and talking about maybe even making like a video as an advocacy tool, which was helpful. We did with the local council people a couple years back.
Yeah, I definitely think this could be another conversation about, strategy for all the sub-grantees in LA for when it comes to the federal and state side too, like you said.
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
I have the question. Would you like to, what you will recommend to bring the people into that outside or meet them in the office?
What would I recommend? I don't know if I'm the best person. You probably could recommend something
No,
better.
I can do it both basically, but what's more effective you think for our purpose is going to be?
Yeah, I would say when you're looking at scheduling a meeting, I will never turn down an opportunity to have the hallway conversations. And that happens.
Yeah, because David, what I like to see, the people come over there, they just, either they speak or they just go around and all that stuff. And we can't nail it right to, tell them, okay, this is the program. We need your help on this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So that's going to be, even we do it in that our area where it's going to be, but I would suggest, or I would like to see, at least on my side, I'm going to have the state senator, and our assembly person will come, and I do need your help because coming from you a little bit about the program. Okay, we need your help. What kind of help you can provide us, or what kind of help we need it?
Yeah.
yeah, and you bring up a good point. Sorry, Jenny, I've answered it. You bring up one really good point too, is a lot of times, especially when you're talking about DC, they'll say, why did you fly all the way out here to meet me when I could, I'm gonna be back in district 3 weeks from now, we could have just met. And absolutely, I love for elected official to come on site, and as Seth was just
Are,
take a
are,
walk through, see all that. But
we can do this way too, David. With those people, we have the direct access to their office, no problem with that. And what we'll do, we'll have them come over there outside, and if we need to have the speaker, we will have some arrange that side too. But while they are there, so we will set up the time with them in their office, and probably we should, after that things, probably within a week or 2 weeks, whatever, we find the schedule and we should go meet with them.
yeah,
We
but
want
also
them to be our champion. Basically, that's what want
no,
to.
no, I hear you, G. But one thing I want to make very clear too is in DC, one of the things I always try to, I mean, the elected, you could build that relationship, but we start talking about a possible, I mean, chief of staff maybe, but a legislative director or a policy director that works on the bills that we're promoting at that time, that very specific one. We have great relationships with both of the senators, but it's
Yeah.
very extremely important for us to have a relationship with that DC staff, because when things come up, no offense to the field staff, that's important as well, and that information gets relayed. But how often does the DC staff ever come back, right? So they're the ones that are stuck in DC almost full time. They don't necessarily always come back to district to get that trip and to understand that. And when they're working on that policy, again, there's 1,000 people. So DC, the other part about Sacramento, I think, is important when we do state assembly members and state senators. Coming here is a value in a sense that you're not only trying to, again, get Sacramento staff that maybe doesn't go home to the district, because as we know, ledge directors, chiefs of staff, those positions, our elected officials have term limits here. Those people do not. So a lot of those folks have been doing this a long time, and they may not be tied into that district. And so again, when decisions are being made, and especially if that person's on approach and and especially if they're in a leadership position, the person that works for them probably is not from your district. They just took that job because they're the best at it, and that's the person that they wanted. And so those folks get tied in, and it's a great opportunity to reach very people with a lot of I don't say power, but a lot of swing and a lot of ability to ensure that we're rising to that level. So I do think that is always when you get on the scheduling side of it, and that's what this is about. Is when they say, well, I can just meet you in the district. I'd love for you to have you out. I want you to do that as well. But I'm going to be in DC, so I want to stop by and see, even if it's a staff member. So I think all of that is right. It's balancing all that together. But we always forget about, again, and no offense to our legislators, but man, the staffs do all that heavy lifting. So I think when you're having a scheduling, say, well, I get it. If the senator or the congressman is not available, then I just want to meet with somebody. Well, I'm going to be there anyway, so we might as well take a few minutes and get to that. And that's the key. To me, it's been very successful getting to know those folks.
Okay, I got the idea. And Jillian, probably would you able to send me those a template for those letter, whatever we making it? So at least I'm going to start doing the communication their office now, and that way we can go, if I need to go meet them, if I need to go talk to them, I could do that. And but if you can send me that template so I can start emailing or sending
Yeah.
a letter.
Definitely. And I didn't mention this earlier. Right now, a lot of you might already have introduced yourselves to the legislators, but
They
come next
already,
year,
my side, they know.
yeah, as I say, come next year, things might be different. So you might have to introduce yourself
Now
to a
for
whole
the
new slew of
for
folks.
the all other, probably that's the best way to go. So introduction first, then make the a rapport with them, and then go with that from there.
Yeah. Thanks, Ajit. Any other questions?
No, I don't have any question. Basically, I know what to do, what not to do, but uh, we will be in touch if I need any help.
Perfect. All right, well, if there's no other questions, I won't keep you all. I'll let y'all go.
Hey, Jillian, I just posted a couple links in the chat before everybody leaves. One is for the next session, that's next week. It's a new link. The one that we had before got corrupted. So this is the registration link to join us next week for planning your legislative meeting. And then lastly is if you could give us a little feedback, we'd appreciate that. That's the other link. Thanks, Jillian.
Yep. And like I said, this will be uploaded on YouTube, and the slides will be sent out. So if you guys need anything from the presentation, hopefully you should have it all soon. But yeah, thank you all and
Thank you,
have a great
guys.
rest of your day. Yeah. Hope to see you all next week.
All right. Cheers.
Bye.